Robo is on location in Brighton, UK with production manager Jake Vernum. How do you know this location?
So I live here and have done for the last sort of 8 years. It's obviously famous and iconic Brighton Beach. I love living here. It's a great place to be in the summer, although I'm not here that much in the summer these days. I've now got a little boy, so spend quite a lot of time down here on the beach and on the pier and stuff like that.
Excellent. And yeah, Brighton is a very cool place actually. We're going to rewind a little bit and talk about how you first got interested in the industry and the world of entertainment and production.
I'm born into it, you could say. My dad has, ever since I've been alive, run a business called Pierce Hire.
Right.
Doing power and lighting and audio and production shows and concerts. So I've been working with him since I was at a very young age, and you could say it's in my blood, I guess. So
you were basically an industry baby.
Industry baby, yeah. So went to work with him quite a lot when I was younger, before going to uni, and yeah, kind of got the taste for it there and never looked back really. I've never done anything else, never worked in another business or another industry since I've grown up.
Fantastic. Where did you go to uni?
I went to uni at Buckinghamshire University in High Wycombe.
And what did you study?
I did music management and live event production. It was kind of a take on the music business and the touring business together, so everything from like record labels through to agencies and publishing and law, to putting on festivals and touring and production. I got a job at Student Union at the local venue, and after the first year became the head tech there. So I looked after all the touring bands coming through, all the advance, all the maintenance in the venue, anything electrical basically. I kind of fixed and helped out with the bars and stuff on that side of things. So just a general all-round technician in the Student Union, but predominantly lighting based. So there used to be audio techs and I'd be the lighting guy and the head tech.
As I understand, you did start off doing lighting, and then you evolved into production from there. But did you have like a first sort of lucky break or something that got your career moving?
Yeah, so my kind of lucky break, I guess, was when I went on tour with a band from the Student Union. Kind of, had I not been working in the Student Union, who knows what other opportunities would have come along, but I was taken on tour by a band called Foxes. I met them as the lighting tech in my studio and they played a show. I was always asking around if anyone was looking for a lighting guy to come on tour with them, just to try and get my kind of foot on the touring ladder, as it were. And then, yeah, so I got an opportunity with those guys. Foxes took me on tour. I met a couple of people that have helped me out quite a lot in my career. So I met Kate Carter, who's a lighting designer. She was a lighting designer for Foxes. We subsequently worked together on George Ezra now. She's the LD for that. That was my lucky break, was touring with Foxes, because that kind of developed into quite a lot of other things that have happened, notably like all my kind of steps in my career sort of feedback from that point, from that first tour that I did.
Yeah.
And it was also where I met my partner, who we now have a 2.5-year-old little boy with. So that one kind of opportunity kind of wrote the pages for the rest of my life, you would say.
It generated many different things.
Yeah, many different things.
Yeah. That's amazing, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Did you have any early influences? Obviously your father must have been a huge influence on you.
I'd say my dad's probably the main influencer that I've worked with. And then, you know, before I was a production manager, I was touring with other production managers and lighting crew bosses and stuff that I've definitely learned from those guys as well, you know.
Was there a definite point where you started leaning more towards production?
Yeah, so as I came off passenger, I got asked to be involved in George Ezra, doing some advancing and helping build the lights. So as I kind of advanced that first tour that I did in 2018, it was pretty obvious that they needed someone. They had an LD, an operator and a lighting designer, and that wasn't what I was getting involved to do at all. I was getting involved because I kind of saw an option an opening for production and stage managing, which is kind of where I wanted to move into.
Sure.
I went to a few arena gigs whilst I was at uni, and whilst I always wanted to be touring and doing lights, there was a part of me which always wanted to step it up that little bit more. I didn't quite expect to get there quite so quickly.
What would you say are the most valuable attributes for a production manager these days?
Each production manager might answer this question slightly differently, but I would suggest that the first one is obviously being quite organised. You know,
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts, and particularly with me doing 2 acts at the same time, it needs to be pretty clear cut where the information's stored, and having sort of organised filing systems and having everything documented, and the way you advance shows for me is really important, because I'm not working single-handedly. There's tour managers and assistants and sort of lighting crew bosses and other people that need to access that info. So
Yeah.
being able for them to sort of have access to the info, know where to find it every time, and working in the same document formats and stuff like that is really important for me, and obviously makes my life a lot easier. But second to that, looking after the crew, looking after everybody on the tour, making sure that everyone feels valued and everyone feels equally as important is a big part of my kind of vibe on tour. You know, we can't do these tours without any single entity. You know, the local crew are just as important as the touring crew, because we can't build the show without the local crew. The local crew don't have a job without the touring crew. None of us have a job without the band. We can't get it from A to B without the drivers. We don't eat without the caterers. You know, all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to operate a mentality. We're all part of that ecosystem, and I think it's important to realise that as a production manager.
Sure. Absolutely. Everybody's valued.
Yeah, everybody's valued and everyone's equally as important. And everyone deserves to be looked after, you know, and I find that looking after people the way that I try to do, the way I develop my teams to look after people works really well, and it ends up with a happy crew 9 times out of 10.
You've got 2 very high profile clients, and they're both on the road at the moment. That's Ezra and Fatboy Slim. And you've probably got 1 or 2 other projects on the go as well. How do you manage to work the logistics of covering both of those very active artists?
It's obviously tricky. I've got a team of people that I work with that help me out and cover shows for me. I've got some very good assistants that work with me to help me put the tours together. But obviously, the fact of the matter is that I work with 2 artists that are predominantly out on tour at the same time, and I can't be in 2 places at once. So it is a case of managing it, and it is a case of putting the right cover in place at the right time with the right person. I think it's important for the artist to know that they're being prioritised in the right way. So obviously, if there's a clash and there's a massive headline show for one of them versus a kind of a lower profile show, you know, it's pretty obvious where I need to be and where my priorities need to be. That said, you can't leave anyone in the lurch. Everything's got to be looked after, and I would only put cover on a show if I knew that the person that was covering it was capable and that there wasn't going to be an issue. I'm lucky to work with 2 really understanding, flexible clients, so they get that I work across 2 different shows and 2 different artists, and that I can't always be around. And I think they're happy as long as it's covered, you know, and I do make a point of it being sort of fully advanced, fully ready to go, and covered by great people.
Do you have like a favourite or a really memorable gig which sticks in your mind?
Yeah, I've got a couple, one with each artist actually. Last year on George we did 50,000 people in Finsbury Park, which is pretty special, so that was a nice moment. Reasonable size show for me to have production managed. A couple on Fatboy actually. We obviously did Brighton Beach last year.
Yes.
We did 2 nights just down there actually on the beach, and although it was nothing like the shows they did before, it was only eight, the famous ones, yeah, it was only 8,000 people a night. It was, to come and do Fatboy Slim on Brighton Beach was cool for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that and appreciated that. And then we recently did a show in Australia in Sydney Mire Music Bowl in Melbourne, and it was 12,000 people and it was really good. It was it's a beautiful venue, sort of out, like half indoor, outdoor, natural amphitheatre, and it was a great show. It was a great success. 12,000 people raving. Fatboy Slim in Australia.
What do you most love about your work?
Generally, walking away from a well-executed show or a tour or whatever it might be is pretty rewarding to walk away and go, you've kind of nailed it. And that doesn't happen all the time, you know, stuff does go wrong.
Yeah.
Stuff is out of our hands, technically or logistically, things happen that we can't get around, but generally when it does go well, everyone's happy, artists happy, management's happy, clients happy, punters are happy, band's happy, crew's happy. It's rewarding to walk away, you have a beer at the end of the night or the end of the tour and you go happy days, well done everyone. So.